There's a big policy in the age of digitalization for the education sector, with one teacher expected to get one laptop. Well, that's a good policy. So why is there so much confusion and there is a protest around this? You're going to get to the heart of this because this has to do with education. Well, the world has moved on completely. There is nowhere in the rest of the world, in advanced countries, where you can have education without a basic tool like a laptop. It is so fundamental to education right now. To think that we are actually now having a conversation about one teacher, one laptop in itself, it shows how far back we are from where the rest of the world is. And yet, we are having challenges with a simple policy as giving each teacher a laptop. How? Why is this even an issue? But of course it is. So let's get into that. What do we know are the issues? The one teacher, one laptop, there are demands, right? Teacher unions to GES absorb the interest charges on the 30% component of the teacher. I mean, that is one of the key things that have come up in terms of the arrangement to paying for the laptop. And I'll tell you the cost of this laptop. It's not like something outrageously expensive. We'll come to that. Supply the laptops to teachers for money deducted before end of 2021 are some of the demands that have been made now. The cost agreement that we're breaking it down for you, just to observe. You've been wondering, what's all this about? This is it. So government was supposed to take 70% of the cost of the laptop. And then the teacher unions, or the teachers themselves, will bear 30% of this. Now there's an 18.16% interest from what we understand. Okay, so government is bearing the bulk of this. I mean, of course, I get it. I mean, it's not supposed to be free. Free things, people will damage it. But when you make your own contributions to it, you cherish it. You keep the laptops a bit more, in terms of the attention that you give to it. So that I get why there is that division, because government is bearing the bulk of this, right? Now, but the services to be delivered includes, as we know, the total number of laptops to be provided, 28,000. 280,000 laptops to teachers across the country. And the unit of a laptop, one laptop is supposed to cost 1,550 cedis. That is not much in the big scheme of things. It isn't, to be honest. 1,550 isn't much in the big scheme of things. But if we're talking about a teacher, and let's put this in context. We're talking about a Ghanaian teacher who earns very, very little. This is significant. I mean, no bones about that. In a bigger scheme of things, for a laptop, for education purposes, 1,550 is nothing. But if you look at the reality about the Ghanaian teacher, my sister is a teacher, so I know what I'm talking about. This is a big deal for a teacher to pay, right? And so that's not surprising that we're having all this controversy. We also wanted to break down a bit for you the cost components, right? Yellow is a teacher, government it's in the other color. So in terms of the actual amount from the percentages that we saw earlier, that I showed you, in terms of the actual amount, the teacher is supposed to pay 465 cedis, and government will take the 1,085 cedis for the laptop, right? So, you're sitting out there with your big V8 and thinking, well, 465 cedis is small. Why are they fighting? This is nothing. It is. We'll talk about it very soon. The price for payment, 30% component, and according to the teacher unions, the 30% component of the teacher was to be paid from the annual continuous professional development allowances. And the NAGRA had made this point that no teacher is paying from their salary, but they had negotiated an allowance for professional development. And as far as they're concerned, getting a laptop for a teacher is part of that. And so that allowance is what is going to fund this. And so no teacher is going to be paying from their salary. They've been explaining that at the press conference today. Now, also, the Ministry of Education obtained approval to use a single source, according to the teachers, to engage a supplier. But as I've learned tonight, that supplier is a supplier that the teachers themselves have recommended. They went to the table with the supplier, and the government agreed with them to use a supplier. And so the supplier is coming in with the 280. The question is whether they're getting value for money. We'll get into that, because if you use KA Technologies, that was awarded as the only supplier of the laptops, the only question to ask is, are you getting value for money? Could you have gotten this a bit more cheaper elsewhere, but with same quality? We'll come to that. So if you look at the breakdown, cost build-up, we're talking about actual cost of 645 for the teacher. And then there's an interest of 84 cedis. And then there's a total of 549 Ghana cedis, 549 cedis, 44 pesos. So this is what the teacher is going to pay in the long run to pay the full cost of the laptop. Now the total cost was reduced to 509 cedis after the intervention by the unions to reduce the interest a bit now. So the unions are doing a lot, but it hasn't stopped the confusion, because one of the groups obviously joining us tonight they are raising concerns about this and they may want to protest. And so some of the other unions, the big ones, NAGRAD, NAT, also held a press conference to say, listen, we are resolving this, and no teacher, in essence, is paying from your salary. Okay, so how do we resolve this? Because I doubt if anybody will say this is not a good policy. And so if that is a good policy, and we are so far behind the rest of the world, because as we are now talking, spending airtime and energies, holding press conferences, possible protests about question of one teacher getting a laptop, that tells us there's a problem there, right? Even the mere fact that we're having all this conversation is a problem. So why don't we just simply resolve this so we move on? The only way to do it is to talk to the teachers themselves, so we understand where we are and how we can move on. And we're going to do just that on PM Express. My guests are joining me after this. Stay with me. And grateful that you could join us here on PM Express. My guest joining us via Zoom is Angel Kabodu. Of course, he is the national president of the National Association of Graduate Teachers. Also joining me in the studio is Stephen Desu. He is the president of the Innovative Teachers, and they have concerns with the issues around the laptops. Kofi Asare is executive director of Africa Education Watch, and he's joining us also via Zoom. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Stevie, let me start with you. You are not only in court, you've indicated that you want to protest.
Well, let's put the issues in perspective. Okay. The issue here is simple. The teachers of Ghana need laptops, not because of COVID. This reason of COVID, I don't see the head and tail of this COVID reason. Because we are not going to go under lockdown. So this business of we need laptop for lockdown and all this Zoom teaching and all that, it's neither here nor there. The teachers of Ghana were given, a substandard training in ICT in our schools. And so it's important for them to be given laptops so that they are given a practical training in ICT for them to impart in a classroom. Because you see, you cannot teach what you don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this is a country where a few years, a colleague of mine, Jojo, did a report from the north where a teacher was teaching ICT, and he was using stones as mouse. I mean, he was drawing the thing. He himself said ICT, information, something. It was completely wrong. I mean, but so I get what you're coming from.
Yes. So when President Kufuor introduced ICT in 2007, when he was about to exit, that was a time when newly trained teachers, when they were posted, they ought to have been given appointment letter, then this is your laptop, go and teach. We couldn't do that, and it took COVID to remind us that teachers in Ghana need laptops. Okay, fine. We agree. But what kind of laptops are you talking about here? That is what the issues are. It is not merely giving teachers laptops. What kind of laptops are we talking about here?
So what? Let's break it down. What is your fundamental issue with this policy and the way it's been handled?
Okay, the handling has been very bad. It is completely illegal in accordance with law when it comes to Procurement Act.
What about it was illegal?
This company called KA Technologies has no track record in manufacturing any laptop in Ghana. I'm challenging NAT Naga CCT. And by the way, we are a fully fledged trade union in Ghana, registered. So sometimes when
the innovative.
Yes, we came, registered as a trade union in 2012. You understand? As a trade union, by the chief labor officer. It is the chief labor officer in accordance with the Labor Act that registered trade unions. It's not GES or Ministry of Education that registered trade unions. My point is that KA Technology does not have any track record in manufacturing laptops in Ghana. And as such, does not qualify for this contract. All their documentation that they took to PPA, they hurriedly got them within November. We've gone through all these steps to verify. And they told us that it was in November, and everything took place in November 2020. So a company with no track record, a company with no certification by Ghana Standard Authority, how did they get this contract? Go and check the procurement law. It's clear. You need to have eligibility in terms of law. In fact, with this document here, PPA document, they are empowered to, make this procurement of information technology products. You understand? This documentation clearly shows that this company ought to have shown market penetration. Can we go to Circle and check whether this company has sold a single laptop there before the award of this contract?
So
there's none.
So you have like one procurement issues.
Yes.
The second is what?
The second is what? We don't learn.
We don't what?
We don't learn.
What? How do you mean?
Because it's taxpayer money involved. But teachers' money, will guard it jealously and will fight it to the last, to the last decision of our blood.
So you have issues with the deductions.
Well, as for the deduction, we call it the GES and the Ministry of Education and all their collaborators, including the controller, has stolen our money. That's the word we are going to use. Because you see, Evans, they themselves said that, I have their letter here, dated 29th January, okay, 2000 and...
This year?
Yes, 2021 this year. The last paragraph is very instructive. Each teacher is to sign an acknowledgement form stating all personal particulars.
I see this is on the Ghana Education Service letterhead.
Yes, and also authorizing the deduction of the amount as source at the controller and accountant general department. Who gave them the authorization in accordance with law?
Is it your salary that is being deducted or your allowance?
It doesn't matter. The teacher is entitled to that money. Whether salary or allowance is neither here nor there. You see,
but the teacher signed this.
You see, no, nobody signed. We are challenging them to provide documentation that the teachers who signed, they should bring them. They have nothing. This whole narrative that, the money is not their salary, please. The per diem that is paid to the minister when they travel, is it their money or not? Evans, the allowances, look, you give a teacher just a paltry amount of 100 cedis a month, and you are not even ashamed of yourself. And you are saying what? It's not their money. Is it your money? Is the money for CCT and Co? Is the money for Nagrat and Co? Is the money for the minister or the GS director? The money is meant for teachers and it must be given to them. The labor law. But
if the teacher is not contributing, how do you get a laptop? Because you started by saying you needed a laptop.
It is the who told who? It's the unions themselves. It is not Nagrat CCT. Alone, they took a united decision among themselves to go and ask for the laptop. No teacher told them to bring any laptop to them. Evans, listen. Any serious teacher who want to know ICT and want to own laptop, after 3 years, you ought to have your own laptop.
So that the teachers should buy themselves?
Of course.
Okay, so...
Wait. My own laptop is for my personal use. It's the responsibility of the employer, in accordance with the labor law, to provide the tools needed by teachers to work. Okay, for example...
You're right. I mean, this laptop I'm using here... was given to me by the company.
Fantastic.
I didn't pay a penny for it because it's part of the resource that I require to do my job. So your argument is that the teacher should not...
The 3070 is completely wrong in the face of the law, and they should not make it as if it's part of some professional training. No. Otherwise, the day will come, teachers will start buying chalk in the classroom. We have to resource ourselves to teach. What kind of country is this?
So your argument is that the government must simply provide a laptop?
Of course, to everything free of charge. And maintain same. But not just any laptop. We don't want ROG laptop here. We don't want any locally assembled laptop. All those are junk laptops they are distributing. The laptop being distributed is not in accordance with law, and as such, it is criminal. It is criminal to produce a product without certification and proceed to distribute.
Let's backtrack a bit. You are in court.
Yeah.
You filed a case in court.
Yes.
Okay. At what point is this case in court?
Well, we filed it on the 10th day of November last month. We are seeking interlocutory injunction on the defendant, that is KA Technology. KA Technologies, the Minister of Education, the Education Ministry, Ghana Education Service, and the last defendant is the Attorney General. Now, it is tried legal knowledge that the moment motion for injunction is served on you, it starts operating as that Supreme Court ruling. Okay, it's tried legal knowledge. When a motion for interlocutory injunction is served on you, it starts operating until the matter is determined by the Honorable Court. These
Well, I won't say that categorically because the lawyers disagree. But that's
what I'm saying is that these guys have no respect for the Honorable Court. They are still doing what they are supposed to do, They have been injuncted not to deduct the money. They've gone ahead to do so. And so we instructed our lawyers to cite them for contempt of court. So we cite them accordingly. We are not joking here.
So have you done the contempt of court filings?
No, we've not done so.
But you will do so.
We'll do so.
Okay. But you also said you are going to proceed on a street protest?
Well,
or you've called it off?
Well, it's not from us. We are innovative teachers. It's all Teachers Alliance.
So there's another teacher group
Yes, we went to court with them. They are the second plaintiff in a matter. Okay, they are second plaintiff. We are the first plaintiff. They are second plaintiffs, and they want to engage. See, there's a lot of anger within the teachers in Ghana. If you monitor social media comments from teachers, they are not happy at all that when it comes to disrespectful teachers, it seems National CCT are leading the way.
I must
How dare you bring a laptop that you know yourself that you never use anywhere to teachers, whilst you are using Apples in your office, whilst you are using HP?
I mean, I must confess, some teachers have sent to me messages on this matter. Let me bring in Angel Kabono. He's heard the complaints. Mr. Kabono, so I guess that these complaints we've heard may have been the trigger for your press conference today?
Let me start by saying that populism and demagoguery is a way of people who amount to nothing. And they just open their mouth and talk anyhow. They are narcissists and they are looking for cheap popularity. And that's why they are doing what they are doing. Yeah. They have not served any injunction on anybody.
Okay, I see.
They indicated to teachers that have gone to court and they secured injunction. There is nothing like they have secured injunction. If you secure injunction and someone is violating the injunction, what you do is not to come and complain to the public. You go back to court and cite the person for contempt. He has not done any of such things. He is just a populist making noise all over the place. He is a man of no substance, and we better forget about him. He says he has formed a union since 2012. Since 2012, he has been the leader of that union. He has not gone for any conference. He has not gone for any acclamation. He rallies himself about everywhere, making so much noise. That is populism and demagoguery.
Okay, I mean, I would appreciate if we keep to the substance of the issues. I mean, just a second. So we don't make this personal. I mean, there are real issues that we need to address. So I want to come to that substance of the issues. You held a press conference today. He's raised at least two issues. Part of this is in court. So I mean, there's a bit of. But you've addressed a press conference today. Your press conference was to address some of these concerns, correct?
Our press conference was meant to clarify the situation to our teachers because a bunch of narcissists have gone to muddy the waters and they have told teachers several lies. Look, let me explain something to you. The teacher unions, in negotiation with Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education, seeing the need for the use of IT in a policy known as blended learning, kickstart this whole agenda. As a matter of fact, we are aware that in the market, there are Lenovo's, there are Dell computers, there are HP computers, there are Apples. But they are not for free. They cost money. You look at the income of the teachers. You look at the availability of money. You look at the readiness and preparedness of government. And then you take a prudent decision in the interest of the Ghanaian teacher. We are not saying that we've gotten the ultimate. But what we are saying is that we have secured a tool for the Ghanaian teacher, to start doing his work with that tool to enhance his teaching and learning activity. So if he thinks that our way is not perfect, he is claiming he's a union leader. He should tell the teachers within the next 1 year what he is capable of getting for them.
Okay, let's address this for me. He makes a point about the teachers using part of the allowance to pay for this. But they are working for the government, they are teachers. Why should the teachers be contributing to resourcing themselves to deliver on the work that the government has employed them to do? Isn't the employer's job to provide them the tools that they require to simply do their job? And a laptop must be a basic tool that we should take for granted in today's age.
2 years ago, there was nothing like professional development allowance in the scheme of things. It is for this purpose that we provide means for the teacher to be able to engage in his professional development activities. Because the system is changed. With the current policy, it is no longer a situation where you just stay in the classroom for 4 years and then you become eligible for promotion. You will have to do professional development activities. You have to engage in certain activities. And for each activity you engage in, you accrue points. There is a minimum points that the teacher needs to accrue to qualify you for promotion at the next level. In accruing this, the exercise of accruing this point comes with some cost. It is this cost that we went and negotiated for some amount of money to be made available for the teacher to be able to mitigate the cost that he or she will have to engage in order to attain the credit points to get promoted. I negotiated for the professional development allowance. And there are conditions for the professional development allowance because it is for a purpose. It was negotiated for a specific purpose. It was not supposed to be an addendum salaries. So if somebody does not know something and then you spew your ignorance to the public, that is your problem.
Okay, but Mr. Kabano, you haven't addressed the point. Shouldn't the union's focus be on forcing government to provide that resource?
But it is the provision of the resource that led us to negotiate the money. That's what I'm saying, that hitherto in 2019, there was nothing like 1,200 or 800 for professional development allowance. Are you with me?
Yeah.
The provision of the resource will be in two forms. Either the government brings the physical equipment or the physical object, or the government supports in financing that. Okay, so the government agreed in our negotiations in 2020 that they will bring 1,200 as a means of ameliorating the cost of attaining professional development. And yeah, and that the teacher ought to account. The teacher ought to account for the use of that money. We unions indicated to government that instead of putting that money in an account, and that would be supplied to the teacher when the need arises, let us rather give that amount of money to the teacher. So the first time this amount of money was paid was in 2020. In 2020, when the amount of money was paid, 100 Ghana cedis was deducted out of this money for the payment of the licensure.
Hello, Mr. Kabano. We may have lost his... Well, we lost him completely? He's on? Okay. Hopefully he's back. Hello, Mr. Kabano.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. So I'm saying that last year was the time the first tranche of the professional development amount was paid. And 100 Ghana cedis was taken out of that money to pay the licensure of teachers nationwide. This year, we indicated, look, there is a certain cumbersome process of teachers in the classroom where the teachers take pen and paper to write their lesson notes, which is very cumbersome. Now, if I teach something like demand and supply to a Form 2 class, what I need to do the next year to that same Form 2 class or another Form 2 class is just to update my demand and supply lesson notes. And one sure way of doing this thing is the use and application of ICT. We are not saying that teachers should go and teach ICT. We are looking at the laptops as a tool in using a tool to be used in instruction in the schools. So this populist talks it can be exciting it can be attractive, it amounts to nothing.
Yeah. Mr. Kabuno, also, what about the procurement issues that had been raised? I mean, how did the unions settle on one supplier for this KA Technologies?
Okay, let me take you through it. Different companies approached the unions at several times, especially after the president announced. And let's say that this whole project is the union initiated. The whole project is the teacher unions initiated. Now, so you have different companies coming, but you look at the price, you look at the salary of the teachers, you look at what the company can provide. This company is going to provide training, is going to provide after-service activities. I mean, the laptops are guaranteed for 2 years, so we have 2 years warranty. It is supposed to provide certain items on the laptop, talking about the syllabus, talking about new teaching methods, and it's supposed to provide us a link to an international link where the code that the teacher uses to acquire the laptop becomes that code that that teacher can use in engaging in that international link of that international institution and gather information. All these things that we are talking about are all new things that are being introduced into the education landscape. If there are challenges, what we have to do as intellectuals is to surmount the challenges, be open-minded and not be inward-looking, pretending to be giving something better to the teachers that they will never get, and open up ourselves to modern ways of doing things.
Yeah, so because of their price, because of the additional value you believe they brought, that's why you recommended them to government to adopt, and that's how government also then used the sole sourcing.
Absolutely, we recommended it to government. The ministry would also have done its own due diligence. They presented it to procurement. Procurement would also have done its own due diligence. And a letter was sent to Mr. Desu by procurement. Interestingly, Mr. Desu is not even, you see, they go about fishing. You know, they went to Shiraj, and Shiraj realized that they were just fishing for information that they did not have. Procurement sent a letter indicating to them that due diligence has been done. It was advertised on procurement websites before the go-ahead was given. Now, let me explain the issue of the loan from GESO, if you don't mind, that's in a minute. The Ghana Education Service Occupation Pension Scheme engages in one main activity. The activity is to invest teachers' monies, invest it prudently in such a manner that when the teacher goes on retirement, the teacher gets value for his money over time. That is the job the pension scheme does. So when we approach our own pension scheme, the pension scheme indicated to us that they cannot give this money for us for free, because the period that the money will be with you, that period could have been used to invest the money elsewhere. So there was an interest placed on the money. So that interest raised the amount that the teacher is supposed to contribute from the 4.6. Well, let me just check, indicate on my document. From the 465 to 549. Now, it came back to 509 because we realized that at the time of the disbursement of the money, the pension scheme had disbursed only 50%. So if you have disbursed only 50% and the professional allowance had come, you cannot slap the money on 100%. So that is what brought the money down to 509 that the teachers are paid.
Okay, so
again, let me state that the professional development allowance is not to go and buy kelewele and agbelikakolo. It is meant for professional development activities, and other people have no choice than to lend that.
So you are paying back this loan from the teacher's allowance?
Yes, from the professional development allowance of 509 Ghana cedis. That was deducted as source.
Okay, stay with me, Mr. Dosu. Kofi, and thank you for being patient, because I wanted to really get to the heart of the controversy. I think we have some clarity on this. Where do you stand on all this from the both sides? You've heard it. Where do you stand on this?
Good evening, Evans, and evening to my big brother, Angel, and the other gentleman in the studio. I believe that we need to let cool heads prevail as we unpack the issues. I think there are three issues here. Last year, when government announced the collaboration with teacher unions, I indicated that ideally, this government's responsibility. It is a duty of the employer under Section 9(1) of the labor law to provide working tools for the employee. And so the fact that it is government's onerous responsibility to provide laptops for teachers to enable them to deliver not only teaching ICT, but then use other applications relevant within the context of our educational reform system is key, it's fundamental. Let me just tell you something. We are just about launching a report this week. The report is on the use of the virtual learning systems that government have deployed. The learning management system called Edmodo, which the Ministry of Education launched in November last year. We are told about 7 million Ghana cedis went into the setting up of the Edmodo platform. The unique thing about Edmodo is that it creates a classroom for a teacher, a parent, and then the student to engage. Now, without laptops, teachers cannot be on Edmodo to facilitate teaching and learning. As of today, 1 year after the launch of Edmodo, less than 1% of Ghanaian teachers are enrolled on the platform.
You are kidding me.
Less than 1%. In a district like Adenta, where there is 100% internet penetration, only about 56 teachers are enrolled on Edmodo. So it tells you that our survey in 6 regions indicated that the lack of access devices is a key impediment to enrollment on the Edmodo platform, and for that matter, facilitating teaching and learning. There are other issues, but relative to this discussion, I want to underscore the need for teachers to have laptops because it is a fundamental tool.
Yeah, I mean, even the fact that, for me, even the fact that we are even fighting over laptops alone, it beats my imagination in the 21st century, 2002. You know, I mean, it's just, it should be so basic. We should take it for granted now, you know, but this is Ghana.
But even though it is very basic, we must be careful. We've seen governments in the past distribute laptops to teachers before.
Yeah. It became a procurement mess. Yes.
Okay, which was totally off spec. Yeah. Now, in doing so, our position is that if you are providing laptop for teachers, the laptop must be fit for purpose. Fit for purpose. Now, if you look at the spec of the laptops being delivered to the teachers, you look at just two things. For laptops, look at just two things: the speed and then the memory. These laptops have 1.1 gigahertz speed and then 4 gig RAM memory. That's the spec of the laptop in the MOU.
But that's a spec of that's a spec of a mobile phone, I think.
Even less than that.
Techno, the latest Techno Canon 9 is even 8 gig.
Yeah.
Techno 9 is 8. It's not even 4 gig, it's 8 gig. And I'm talking about the RAM. So it is very, very slow. If you are not an IT person, you wouldn't appreciate the fact that immediately you switch such a device on, the operating system alone would take half of the memory straight. Even before you open any file, the operating system alone will take half of the 4 gig RAM straight up. Now, if you are logging on to virtual learning platforms like Edmodo, which we do every day,
won't work.
My boy who is in primary 1 uses an i7. It is 8 gig RAM because he will be struggling with LMSs and then YouTube for kids. It will be slow. So the spec is very, very low. It will be slow. It is not what ideally a teacher would need to engage in virtual learning. Ideally, it should be i7. Why am I saying so? Let's compare ourselves to the private sector. There's a similar facility that was organized by the Ghana National Council on Private Schools for their private school teachers. They also arranged for 200,000 laptops from a local supplier under similar circumstances. But their laptop is twice the spec of the one government is buying for our teachers. Their RAM is 8 gig, not 4 gigs. And then the processor speed is 2.2 gigahertz, not 1.1.
But what was the cost? What's the cost of that? But what's the cost? This one is 1,500. How much is that?
I don't want us to go into the procurement.
No, but I mean it's important because the cost determines what specs you have, right? I mean, if it's 1,500 and it's cheap, you can't expect to have, 60 gig, etc. I mean, it's as simple as that.
We believe that if you look at the cost, it will be deceptive because the value is based on the quality and not the cost.
Okay.
Because we are talking about fit for purpose.
So in other words, the point you're making is that you are better off spending a little more to get a laptop that is fit for purpose than spending less for a laptop that it can't use anyway for the intended purpose.
Exactly the point. Because the spec of i7 on the market,
yeah,
you get it for about 4,000. Okay, you get i7 for 4,000 cedis. If you are buying i7 from what we call an OEM vendor, that is next to the factory at that bulk quantity, you will get an i7 around 2,000, 2,500 cedis. Okay, but we are spending 1,500 cedis. And so definitely you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm talking about the quality.
Yeah, I get it.
And so let's focus on the quality, because if our teachers don't have the quality they require to work with the machine, after 2 years, after 1 year, you will hear complaints that the machine is too slow. And of course, if you switch on a 4 gig RAM,
yeah, that is without saying, yes.
The expression system will take half away even before you open one file. So that for us is the issue. The specs are too low, and that it should have been a bit more higher. At least i7, 8 gig RAM, 2.2 gigahertz speed should have been okay for virtual learning, the other things that the teachers will be using the laptops for.
Yeah,
that is our position. And we don't have any position on the procurement because we believe that it was led by the teacher unions in the interest of their members. They were minded to assist their members to get gadgets to teach, and then government also supported them. But the point I want to make is that it should have been government's onerous responsibility. The way government buys guns for policemen, government buys boots for policemen, uniforms for policemen. Yes. No policeman uses their money to buy guns. Yes. It's the same way it is the duty of government. It is non-negotiable. 9(1) of the labor law.
Yeah, I mean, give me a quick thought on it. Let me come back to the issue. But here's the situation. One of the fights is about the teachers are paying with their professional development allowance, right? Anjabo Kamunu says a loan is going to be serviced so that deductions are being made. Some of the teachers aren't happy. The case is in court. What do you make of that? Are the teachers right, or is NAGRAT right? What those who are complaining? I mean, what's your thought on that?
I don't think NAGRAT is saying that they are happy that teachers have allowances to pay instead of their salary. But what they are saying is that that's what they try to negotiate for, because before then there was nothing at all. Okay, so it's not as if they are happy.
Yeah.
No, they would have been happier if government was shouldering all the 100% cost. So let's put it within that context. I believe that, again, in as much as no policeman uses their professional allowance to buy a gun to go and enforce security, no soldier uses their money to their allowance to buy equipment to go and work. In the same way, no teacher should be allowed to use any allowance or salary to procure teaching and learning materials aid that they require to teach and teach well. It is a duty of the employer. And it is not too late for government to simply say that, look, I am absorbing all the costs.
Yeah, but I mean,
because I am the employer.
The teachers have already paid already.
I mean, the spec is low.
Kofi, stay with me. So you've had Kofi, you've had Angel Kabono.
Yes. Let me start from what Carboni said. I'll forgive him for what he said. Intellectuals, do argument above veiled insults like the way he was doing because he's losing members. And so he can argue that way. I understand him. He's bleeding of members on our side. So I will not fault him for what he's doing. This whole enterprise of KA technology laptop business is about some few greedy people who have gathered around it who want to make money. And we have come in to stop it. And that's why he's arguing that way. That one aside. Now the issues are, if the Minister of Education who went on Peace FM, Honorable Napo.
Former.
Yes. Look, if they came to you that this is the proposal, okay? You ask, what's the name of this company? What's their track record in manufacturing laptops? Who has been given their laptop which has lasted? As I talk to you now, the teachers are complaining that the hard disks are crashing. As I talk to you right now.
Yeah, I mean, let me read one. I mean, honestly, since we've been on air, a few of them have joined us with their thoughts. I must indicate that. Okay, so there is one, I won't mention names. I mean, some of them I don't know, but some of them I know as teachers. Hi, Evans. Regarding your interaction with the teacher laptop, I think this article of NAT Constitution can be of help. So he quotes the NAT Article 37 on borrowing. We understand there was borrowing of money to finance the project. If that is it, then it's unconstitutional per this article since the borrowing has not been approved by National Delegate Conference. That's one teacher. Another one, Martin, sent me this one. It says, we as teachers have not asked our union leaders to procure any laptops for us. Angel Kabono, well, he's not happy with Angel Kabono. And Martin in Ho sent me that one. Our problem is not about the money. And this is another one from Lawrence. It says, our problem is not about the money. It is about the type and quality of the laptop. We have been shortchanged by our leaders. He's asking me to extend the time for the program. Well, we'll see. So these are three teachers at least who've sent me messages whilst we've been on air talking about this.
Evans, when you go to the website or the Facebook page of KA Technologies, the messages are there. You can go and read it for yourself. The issues are this. When the Honorable was told about this laptop issue, what he ought to have done is that, listen, I'm not going to use this KA technology that you are bringing. Because you see, these teacher unions came with a company that they have chosen themselves.
Mr. Carbon doesn't dispute that.
What is the interest in that company? Not CCT.
No, but you've heard him explain. He's explained
please.
That they came with the better price. They came with additional value. They're going to train the teachers. And there was an after-sale service. So they're going to maintain the laptops.
First of all, NAT Naga CCT are registered trade unions. In law, they have no business doing what they are doing. What they are doing is not grounded in any law in Ghana when it comes to the Labor Act. The procurement entity in this regard is the Ministry of Education.
Yeah, but the Ministry of Education were not bound by their proposal.
Yes, so that's
but the ministry chose to go with their proposal.
So this is how far we have come. The minister ought to have rejected this KE technology and state that ROG came and we had a problem. And so, listen, your idea is fantastic. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to contact Dell, HP, Lenovo, because the number is large. When you produce in large quantity, remember your documentary on NLA?
Yeah, you get discount.
That was the thing that informed our decision that testing there's something in it. I watched the documentary more than 20 times and watched a lot of procurement issues about PM Express, procurement issues. Before arriving at this, the issue here is simple. If you contact these well-known companies who produce laptops, they'll give you better price, they'll give you better specifications because they are known. They have track record. They have ISO, certification. Not a company, fly-by-night company that has not produced a single laptop anywhere. Okay? How did they get all the documents that they have to bid for that contract? Look, we were in this country where PPA boss was selling contract to himself. That was legal.
Okay.
Now, wait. He is talking about that. Wait. The contract ought to be posted at the website of the PPA.
Yeah, he said PPA wrote you a letter.
This is the letter.
Okay, so this is a letter that he was referring to.
Yes. Read the last paragraph.
This is to you. Now, let me read it. It says, request for information. This is Public Procurement Authority, signed by Frank Mante. I know him. He's the acting chief executive. Your letter dated 7th. We write to and confirm that the Public Procurement Authority is aware of the process by the Ministry of Education to engage KA Technologies Limited for the supply of laptop computers for pre-tertiary unions across the country. The teacher unions, represented by the NAT, NAGRAT, and CCT, recommended KA Technologies Ghana Limited to the Ministry of Education through a well-researched proposal to undertake the supply of laptops and training. It is the responsibility of the Ministry of Education to post the contract award on the PPA website. And the PPA periodically reminds all entities to do so in line with Section 31A. So it's the responsibility of the ministry.
Yeah, they have not done so.
Okay.
When you go to PPA website today, there's none. So they are operating under the secrecy. I mean, they are operating under the what do you call it? They are trying to prevent people from knowing the contract details and all that.
I have a few questions for Mr. Kabonu from the teachers who have joined, who have sent me a message. I want to put it to him, but I want to take a quick break. When I return, I'll put a few of the teachers' questions to him so he can directly respond to them. Stay with me. Let me quickly bring Mr. Kabonu because I don't have too much time and there's many teachers who are sending messages. Mr. Kabonu, so a few teachers have sent messages whilst we've been on air. Let me share one.
Will you allow me to do some response, then we take those messages?
If you don't mind, very briefly, mainly it has to, really the same thing. Mainly it has to be the quality of the laptop that was raised earlier. A lot of the teachers say, our problem is not about the money, it's about the type and quality of the laptop. We have been shortchanged by our leaders. A second one talks about the fact that, this one says, the teachers, we as teachers have not asked our union leaders to procure any laptops for us. Some of us have laptops already. Did they consult us before this was happening? The question about the quality of the laptops, that was raised earlier.
Well, the teachers did not ask us to go and negotiate for them any professional allowance. But when we negotiated the professional allowance, people like Desu took them and chalked. But they did not tell us to go and negotiate professional allowance. But when we did it, people like Stephen Desu were beneficiaries and they consumed that of last year and they are consuming that of part for this year. What we are saying is that we have two categories of people. We have those who will want to share their inadequacies and poverty, and we have those who want to take steps to break the glass ceiling and move to the next level. The next level is the use and application of IT. The next level is to stop writing lesson notes to pen and paper. We have taken initial steps.
Yes, but for that to happen, the laptops must be fit for purpose. The concern is that the laptops you procured are not fit for purpose. They are not working as they should. Low standard.
I doubt that very much, because what some IT experts are telling me is totally different from what I'm hearing now. But let me say that there is 2-year warranty agreement between us and the supplier, and those who are reporting that their laptops are crashing, those who are reporting that they have challenges should inform their union leaders, who will make sure those laptops are retrieved and either replaced or repaired. So there is that warranty agreement in the agreement that we have reached with KA Technology. As we move forward, maybe the time will come when we may be using the HPs and the Apples. But I can tell you, as we speak, the government currently did not indicate to us. And let me also say quickly that if tomorrow the government announces that they will take 100% of their cost, it is hooray. That would be, because that is how we even went into the negotiation in the first place. And what we entered was a negotiation. It is a negotiation. So we started.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Kabonu. May have lost him briefly. Kofi Asari, quick 30 seconds. Let me wrap up with Mrs. Dosu here. Mr. Asari, are you still with me? Unmute yourself if you're muted.
I've unmuted, yeah, I've unmuted.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, let me quickly say that our interest in this matter is because government is spending about 280 million of the taxpayers' money to pay for the 70%. And that is why we are interested. We wouldn't have cared how teacher unions use their money, but we are mindful that government is using 280 million of the taxpayers' money in the education sector to finance this. In view of this, that's why we are interested in ensuring that we get value for money. I think that in the interim, what can be done is that the laptops are being assembled by the company. It looks as if there's an OEM vendor, the laptop company is dealing with who is assembling. At this scale, it is assembled. So government should explore the possibility of upgrading it to at least 8 gig RAM and then 2 gigahertz. Okay, that is something that can be done. Yeah. Because on the market, you can get the i7 spec for, I'm told you can get it for 2,800 at the retail level, the one that the private schools bought. So government can negotiate with the supplier so that he can upgrade the RAM to 8 gig. While the RAM and then the speed is upgraded from 4 to 8 gig and then from 1.1 to
that you believe will solve that, Mr. Dosu?
Well,
that will solve a lot of the problems. Exactly.
Yeah, go on.
The use of our second-tier money in manufacturing this laptop. Now,
the loans they took.
Yes. The law prohibits that. It does not give them the right to use the money anyhow they want. So they should wait for a lawsuit that will file against them. We want that board to be dissolved because they are misusing our money. The law is clear. You cannot take loan from there and go and use to finance a product that's not certified in accordance with law.
Have you received this laptop? Have you received yours?
Myself? Yeah. Nobody will have the temerity to come.
But you are paying for it anyway.
I'm not paying for anything.
But
that money will be retrieved. We'll go to court and ask the court.
So when they bring a laptop, you take?
And I have a laptop already. Okay. There are teachers who have laptops already. Common sense dictates that you isolate those teachers. Those teachers who are in rural areas where there's no electricity, how do they power this laptop? Yeah. Where is the thinking here?
Okay.
And you are here talking about me? No, the teachers are the best judges.
I mean, there are a lot more questions, I must admit, that Njoka Bono will must answer because of the lot of questions. But of course, run out of time on this. Yeah. This is something that we will definitely return to because it has to do with teachers and education. We need a whole time with the education minister on this matter to break it down because we've been this way before. A previous government tried this laptop for teachers and it was a complete mess. Have we learned the lessons of that as we begin to implement this policy, especially when taxpayers' money is at stake? We'll get into this definitely, you can be sure, on PM Express later. Enjoy the rest of the evening.